So women are the key. Let me explain this. I mean, I've seen a lot of categories that, fit into the MGTOW movement. I've seen a lot of big YouTubers with big followings talking a certain way. And here's the thing though. I think it's very misleading information, especially for young kids and young people overall in general. It doesn't have to even be young kids, but just young adults to some extent. See, the whole thing is when you hear women are the key, it's not that they are needed for you to basically accomplish anything. You actually need nothing outside of you. However, whenever we talk about people, places, and things being attracted to you, depending on the level of vibration you're on, whatever frequency you're emitting, right? Your vibe attracts your tribe. You always hear this as far as like people you meet to help you accomplish goals, okay? See, when you have goals, the beauty part about goals is not the accomplishing the goals. That's, the highlight here. What's really the highlight is the person you become in the journey to accomplish that goal. You get what I'm saying? That's the main thing, is who you become. So who you become or who you becoming, you become that. These goals are not really chased by anybody. They're just more or less meeting you right where you're at, okay? Because you become what you think about. Now, let me explain to you the whole thing when it comes down to the women. This is why there's a lot of YouTubers or big influencers talking trash about women in particular. Okay, for one, they may be beta males who can't fucking talk or meet a female unless they have money. Now, let me explain this. There's something called the honeymoon effect, okay? And there was a point in my life where I've experienced a couple of honeymoon effects. And one thing very interesting happened upon this experience of the honeymoon effect. For one, I wasn't expecting it, but I've always been a certain type of individual as a child, okay? Where I've always wanted to meet a girl and have that honeymoon experience. I don't know what it was, but then it got polluted with a lot of pornography. And it wasn't like there was pornography when I was little. It's just that I was very lustful at the same time, and it kind of unbalanced itself to some extent. But then I remember I would balance myself by listening to romantic R&B, like love music, and it would balance out. It would actually get me off that lustful state, so more into that more of that appreciation for that company and making me feel a certain way. Now, there was a point where I went to Colombia and I was hanging out with a bunch of my cousins, big group of people, and there was a few girls there. I mean, I've never really had trouble meeting girls or talking to girls. However, this situation particularly was different because I wasn't expecting to have a honeymoon effect to any extent. And if you don't know what the honeymoon effect is, look up the works of Dr. Bruce Lipton on the honeymoon effect. So I don't have to explain it here. I will link a video in the description of this video so you can have an understanding of what it is if you've never experienced it. And if you haven't experienced it, it may be hard for you to fathom what I'm talking about. But when I was hanging out, there was music in the background. There were certain things that we were doing that were very adventurous, outdoorsy. We went out at night, literally like hiking at nighttime, camping at night, listening to music that leaves an imprint, because music leaves an imprint. There'll be times where later on you'll hear that song again and it brings you back to the memory of what you were doing, right? Where I've already made examples of what going back to a memory or bringing the memory back to you to some extent. You get what I'm saying? In your now moment, where you never really leave your now moment. However, that I made in separate videos. I can always tie that in another video. But we had these magical moments, and I remember this one particular girl that I liked, and I know she was feeling me back, because it's just like, chemistry. When you have conversations, there was flirtatious activity going on here and there. It was, I don't know, you start to get the butterflies in your stomach. That's where it starts. And then all of a sudden, you get to a point where you're holding hands, you start kissing, and it wasn't really in a lustful environment. It was more of like we were both in an innocent mental state where time seeks to exist. Nothing in this universe mattered other than the company that I had with her and the magic that we were feeling in that particular moment. Nothing existed. And when you and the thing is, I didn't even know what was happening until later on in life, where I started to listen to Bruce Lipton, and he started to talk about honeymoon effects. And it's interesting because that particular experience is exactly what I felt, where money wasn't a thing. And nothing mattered. Time didn't matter. It didn't matter what time it was. I didn't eat. We weren't paying attention to nothing but our company. It was magic literally happening in real life. Like we were experiencing heaven on earth. You get what I'm saying? And here's the interesting part. None of the things that we did ever required money. Yet we had so many things to do that didn't involve utilizing or even having money. You know what I'm saying? We had so much in common. Like she was like the perfect person that I can ever envision in my life. And then all of a sudden, you know, life kind of kicked back in, you know. I was in Colombia, it was vacation, and then I had to come back to New York, work, and, you know, the stresses of life every day, you know, normal activities, girls that I already knew here in New York, and shit, and just basic shit like that. It was just like a memory that just got imprinted in my life, you know what I'm saying? And we tried the, you know, communicating long distance, but however, all that seemed to fade away through time. You get what I'm saying? For one, she couldn't come into America because she was not an American citizen. And on top of that, you know, I don't live over there, so I can't be going over there because I had work and I had other activities over here to do. I had my life over here in New York. However, this was such a magical moment. I was even contemplating on moving over there. But then, you know, of course, my common sense kicked in and said, yo, dude, this, you know, get it together, bro. You know? And it just kind of like faded away. But, you know, till this day, believe it or not, I still keep in touch with this particular female from time to time, not all the time. She has a partner, and of course I have my partner, and you know, it's just more or less like from time to time we'll just say hi and this and that to each other, but there's always just that memory. You get what I'm saying? And this is where I started to realize, basically, your vibe attracts your tribe, right? When you have a girl, and I've had many girlfriends right after this chick, you know what I'm saying? Many. And I'm telling you, especially through the bartending days, where most of it were just lustful relationships. They were just, you know, my chaotic craziness, going out partying and then bartending, and, you know, it was just lust. It wasn't really the same thing. There was a lot of moments where I had so much money and I was, you know, I you know, it was known that I had money, especially when I went to clubs or I went to strip clubs and whatnot. You know, I tend to invite people a lot and whatnot, and then you start to see these leeches, these parasites that just come in, and these are women that come and they're there. You get what I'm saying? But if I didn't have that money, they most likely wouldn't be in my vicinity the way they were, like sharks. It's like they smell fucking blood in the water, and they just come luring towards you. You get what I'm saying? Only because they're after what you have, which is your money, right? Now, basically in life, you could look at it the same way. Somebody may be portraying a certain image of, you know, having some kind of wealth, and you're always going to get these women that are going to be, you know, all around you. You know what I'm saying? And this is just because of the resources that you have. You get what I'm saying? Now, this is why I am big on this particular topic when it comes down to women are the key. And I'm going to get to the point now. For one, my partner or any girl I've ever had has always been direct shadow aspects of myself. You get what I'm saying? There's certain things that I love about her. There may be certain things that trigger me about her. But then it also comes down to when you meet people in your life, you're always going to meet certain extensions or certain versions of you. You get what I'm saying? Certain of them may even trigger you. And these triggers are shadow aspects of yourself. This is a fact. You could look up any works of Carl Jung or any one of the shadow work, you know, information that you want to go out and venture in. These people are shadow aspects of yourself, okay? And you tend to want to judge and demonize it, and this is why you tend to do more damage to yourself than actual good by judging or demonizing these people. And I'm gonna go in on the particular topic of veganism and all that more or less down the road, okay? And the reason I say this is because your partner is a direct reflection or a mirror of you. When you're in a relationship, okay, if you end up getting to a point where it's so catastrophic that you end up breaking up, if you don't change, you don't notice how you just attract another person That's exactly the same fucking person you had before, just in a different body. And there's a reason for it. It's because you attract the people that you are. That's why it is a very known fact, and I've had a realization of this, that you don't see the world for how it is. You see the world for how you are. So when you meet women, okay, these women are going to be a direct shadow aspect of yourself, or a direct mirror of yourself, okay, because they're actually more of an immediate family member rather than an extended family member, especially if you live with them, okay. Your children are also a direct mirror of you, okay. You could look at this as your childlike nature, especially the fact that when you had planted this seed into the woman, you were under a certain mental state. You were also under a certain mental state to begin with overall. So you're going to look at this child, and this child is going to show you a lot of things about you. You get what I'm saying? And the woman is going to basically show you a lot of your weaknesses and a lot of your strengths. All right. Now, the reason they're the key is because when you create, you have a masculine vision, projection, and then you get emotionally involved with it. Okay. Now, this is the feminine energy. Okay. Is the nurturing care, you know, the emotional side to it. And then when you stay focused on it, okay, that's you putting energy into this projection. So energy flows where attention goes. It starts to matter to you, to the point where it materializes in your body. That's why when you don't want something, you don't care about it, you say it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? But when something materializes, that's the attention you put into it. Especially if there's a harmonious chemistry in the form of a feminine and masculine energy attached to it. Doesn't matter if it's a good thing or a bad thing that you manifest. You created it with the perfect harmonious chemistry. So it could be a recipe for good or a recipe for disaster. But that's all on you. You get what I'm saying? The universe doesn't look at bad or good. It just looks at what you do. You're the God source, and whatever you put out, you get back more of what you get. You get what I'm saying? So every woman I've had, I've made examples of this in my previous video, where even just something as simple as to telling her how to dress, she told me how to dress and whatnot, and then I really genuinely changed that from within me, because I really fucking hated that. I noticed that the girls that I met afterwards weren't really all about that. You get what I'm saying? But you can start doing these. These are experiments. These experiences that you experience are a result of your experiments in life. You get what I'm saying? So with women in particular, if you have a girl in your life that you are considering your wifey and whatnot, and she has something in common with you, okay, she is part of your life, and to the point where she believes in you, to the point where she's now emotionally attached to your projects, with your projections, okay? And then you have the ability to, even through sex chemistry and whatnot, you have the ability to add some even more of this powerful manifestative energy into it by creating it, like putting energy into it. You know what I'm saying? You stay focused on a task. It all starts from the mind, and then you put your work into action. So when you have a female, you know what I'm saying? Like, these women are powerful in a sense where she could be the worst thing that happens to you, because if you have nothing in common, she'll actually bring you further away from your goals. You get what I'm saying? Or if you have something in common with her where she's actually, you know, in harmony with, you know, the frequency that you're putting out as far as chemistry goes, then you can manifest a lot easier this way. And it's not that you need a woman. However, most of the time when you're working on yourself, okay, there will be opportunities where you will meet certain people that will help you in accomplishing your goals. And the ultimate one that you can meet is a female that's in harmony with you, without it having to be where she's there because of certain resources that you have. Only in a sense where you can create a honeymoon effect on a very light level or on a very deep level. Deep level would be where you completely lose yourself in the experience, or on a very light level where the chemistry is so harmonious that it don't matter what's happening in the world as far as like dramas and all this fucking bullshit of catastrophes happening outside in the world. You're in heaven with her, and nothing outside is experienced in your life because you're just not vibrating to that frequency. See, the whole thing is that whatever you want to do in life, you may have an idea of how you want to see the world. You'll never change the world. This world is ran on polarities and duality. Okay? You can't change creation. Creation's already made. You can only shape your circumstances. Okay? So there may be instances where things may be trying to fall out of your life, but you don't allow it to fall out of your life. That's the whole thing. Because you also have the power to keep holding on to shit that ain't serving you as well. You get what I'm saying? It's not to say that things like that work like magic where you change and all of a sudden everything else is going to change. You have to assist the change in the process. You have to put some type of action to, you know, having your manifestations come to fruition. So if things are trying to fall out of your life, let it go. And that's true love, because they say that if, you know, if it's meant to be, it'll come back. You know what I'm saying? If it's not, it was just never meant to be for you. But love is a letting go process, right? You detach. But what is that called also? A death, which a lot of people have fucking misunderstood. They don't know what real death is. You know, you want to start fucking debating on certain words like death and fucking, it's all religious terminologies. You get what I'm saying? Like, you die numerous amounts of times in your life. When you're living, right, you may be in a sport. I was talking to Fire Drake, and, you know, you leave a legacy behind after you retire. That retirement is a death. You may have lived a certain lifestyle and then found Jesus, and now you're a born-again Christian, but you died from whatever version of yourself you were before. You're changing all the time. That's one thing that's constant in this universe, is change. So you observe the changes outside of you, okay? These changes are all happening within you already to begin with, because your body changes every certain amount of years. You have a brand new body, I think, every 7 years, right? So when you go through these changes, there may be changes that occur outside of you. You don't demonize those changes. You try to learn about those changes, okay? And you integrate it in your life as far as to how you want it working for you, right? They say that now, you know, you have the category of simps and pimps and whatnot. I mean, it's just all fucking ridiculous. More of an illusion of separation. That's all it is. It's all about getting to know yourself. It should never get to a point where you say and allow into your life that being broke is acceptable. It is not acceptable. Being broke is not acceptable, because broke is broken. Like, you be a broken individual. The only way that you're whole is when you get yourself together. And when you get yourself together, you'll attract the right partner who will continue to make you feel whole. Because, you see, there's a difference between you finding a girl who, if you didn't have, you consider her your second half. Where if you didn't have her, you'd feel incomplete. Or you can attract a girl who is complete because you already feel complete within yourself. Now you form a complete fucking energy because she's complete and you're complete. You'll never find a girl who's incomplete if you're really complete. You know what I'm saying? I've noticed that. There's certain people you just can't attract into your life unless you're under a certain mental state. It really works like magic out here. Like, you can start to observe these little things. You can start to say, well, let me, you know, you could be angry. You could be whatever it may be, any little emotion. Just ride with it and see what happens. You'll always attract somebody who's angry. When you feel insecure about yourself, you'll find people who may not even want to look at you in the eye the same exact way. You get what I'm saying? You find confident people if you're confident. But you can build on that, or you can make it a point where it's going to always be you versus you, right? Because you're going to find the verses that within that person, you versus that person, which is always going to be you versus you, right? So there's always that little balance. You could be complete, but it could be to your detriment or to your favor. If you feel confident, you may find another confident individual. And if you both feel like that, you understand what alpha is and how you could build off of that. Because here's the thing though, a lot of people are against the prey-predator mentality, but what they hate, they're doing directly themselves. Whatever they're pointing the finger at is what they're doing themselves directly. So all this talk basically about women, you know, how a woman is a distraction, they'll destroy your life. Yeah, they are. They could, but they could also be the greatest fucking thing that ever happened to you. The greatest thing. You know what I'm saying? When you know this within yourself, that you are working on you, and it sounds cliche, but work on you. A lot of people say, I want to live my best life. I want to create my best life. How come you can't create your best death? Right? Your best death would be the death of what you are that's keeping you from accomplishing what it is that you have as an image in your mind. And that's gonna create your best life. How could you have light without darkness? So how come nobody ever wants to talk about creating their best death? And then somebody would also argue, well, if you look at animals, everything in this planet is striving to survive or to ensure its you know, it's safety and survivability, right? Everything is thriving to, you know, maintain homeostasis. Those are all reflections of your animalistic nature. Okay? See, that's what it is. But you're a God body and you're a God. I can't even put a fucking name to it. You know what I'm saying? But if you're thinking from these higher natures, I mean, it's more or less you'll look at things from a neutral standpoint. You won't polarize to an idea. You won't believe in something so much that it has possession of you. This is where people start to suffer more. So, I don't know. I mean, I hope I made myself clear in this video. But yeah, women are the key. Women are a fucking beautiful creation. Women are, in fact, and it's not even, look, if you're gay or lesbian or whatnot, and this is what you're into, you can still work with this because it's basically energy. But there's always going to be some type of friction. Don't forget. You hear what I'm saying? Because if you look at a man's got the rod, the woman's got the, you know, moist hole, and you know, there's a guy. You know, two guys, they need they need artificial lubrication. You get what I'm saying? To make that, you know, sexual experience happen. So there may still be some type of, you know, friction. However, one of them will always hold a very feminine energy. You can always tell a man looks, you know, when a gay man kind of expresses himself sometimes a little bit more feminine than an actual female. You get what I'm saying? And that's how you know they got this strong feminine energy down to some extent. And there's women who express themselves to the point where they look really manly. And they're women. You get what I'm saying? But you can always read these things. Just getting to know a person, their body language, their way of expressing themselves. You could tell what's more dominant in them, if it's a feminine or a masculine energy. You get what I'm saying? There's women who like to, you know, take more charge and just... I don't know what it is. They just got a little more mannerism to them. You could just read that. And there's a girl who's just more girly, just, you know, and you could just kind of read that. Again, it's balance, you know. But in the relationship, you'll always know that there's always one that takes the man role, one takes the woman role. You get what I'm saying? We call that bottom or top or whatever it may be, if it's the same sex. But then again, in relationships, there's some women who are more manly than the actual guy, you know. But only you know in your own relationships what's going on and basically how you can make whatever energy or chemistry work for you. That's on you. I think that's all I got for this video. So we'll talk soon.